Alright, so today we're going to look at part 2 of this lesson of She Had Some Horses. Our goals today are I can read passages from Joy Harrow's She Had Some Horses as my assigned role in a group. I can make inferences about the poem's meaning using textual evidence. And I can plan and draft original poems using anaphora to describe a character. So just to review, we talked about She Had Some Horses in our last lesson. Hopefully you remember that they had a lot of metaphors and we had a lot of repetition, like the words she had some horses that were over and over again. We learned that anaphora is the repetition of a word or a phrase at the beginning of consecutive lines. So that means the beginning of a bunch of lines together all have the same thing. They all start with the same thing. Some of our vocabulary: a stall is a room in a stable that an animal or animals stay in, like a horse stall. And a waltz is a kind of dance. Okay, we're going to look at the poem one more time. I'm just going to read through it. And I want you to listen. I'm going to ask some questions for you to think about afterwards. So follow along. From She Had Some Horses by Joy Harrow. She had some horses. She had horses who were bodies of sand. She had horses who were maps drawn of blood. She had horses who were skins of ocean water. She had horses who were the blue air of sky. She had horses who were fur and teeth. She had horses who were clay and would break. She had horses who were splintered red cliff. She had some horses. She had horses who danced in their mother's arms. She had horses who thought they were the sun and their bodies shone and burned like stars. She had horses who waltzed nightly on the moon. She had horses who were much too shy and kept quiet in stalls of their own making. She had some horses. She had horses who called themselves horse. She had horses who called themselves spirit and kept their voices secret and to themselves. She had horses who had no names. She had horses who had books of names. She had some horses. She had some horses she loved. She had some horses she hated. These were the same horses. So after reading through that again, I want you to think, what are some strategies for reading poetry aloud successfully? What makes it sound good? What do you think the writer of the poem wanted when they wrote it? Did they want you to pause at certain places? Do they want you to show emotion and tone in your reading? So we should always aim to read slowly and clearly, making sure that we're speaking loudly enough for everyone to hear, and using appropriate tone. We should also follow along to know when it's our turn. So in the last lesson, you looked closely at all the metaphors in stanza 2 of She Had Some Horses. We talked about how the horses, the bodies of sand, were like a woman, how maps drawn of blood, skins of ocean water, blue air of sky, fur and teeth, clay that would break, and splintered red cliffs. So what did the horses in these lines do? Okay, I want you to think about that, and then let's look at stanza 4. So we're talking about this one that says, she had horses who danced in their mother's arms. She had horses who thought they were the sun and their bodies shone and burned like stars. She had horses who waltzed nightly on the moon. She had horses who were much too shy and kept quiet in stalls of their own making. So what did those horses do? Hopefully you can see it shows they danced, because we know waltzed is a dance. Also, some kept quiet, and how is that like a woman? And what do all these descriptions have in common? Hopefully you notice they're all actions. So our first one with a lot of like descriptions, and now we have a lot of actions where we're doing things. The second stanza listed what the horses were, and this fourth one tells us what they did. Okay, I want you to go ahead and go to 9.1 in your poet journal, and we're going to take this together, so go ahead and pause it wherever you need it. We're looking at the fourth stanza of She Had Some Horses, where it describes horses performing lots of different actions. Since horses cannot really do all of these things, we know Haro must be using figurative language. She may also be reminding readers that the horses represent different parts of the woman in the poem. Use your best interpreting skills to decide what the figurative language in this stanza might mean. You may refer to the poem as you work. So for number 1, what are some possible figurative meanings for danced in their mother's arms? So what could that possibly mean? Number 2, what are some possible figurative meanings for though they were sun and their bodies shone and burned like stars? So they thought they were the sun and their bodies shone and burned like stars. What could that mean? Remember, this is all figurative, not literal. Number 3, what are some possible figurative meanings for waltzed nightly on the moon? Remember, waltzed meant dance, a kind of a dance. What are some possible figurative meanings for waltzed nightly on the moon? And then number 4, what are some possible figurative meanings for kept quiet in stalls of their own making? Kept quiet in stalls of their own making. Okay, so remember a stall, kind of think of it as like a bathroom stall, but for, it's for animals where they keep the horses overnight. But why would they keep quiet in the stalls of their own making? So like they made the stall and they're staying quiet there. Why? What do you think that means? And remember, they are using figurative language to describe a woman. Okay, when you're done, I want you to turn to 9.2. So now you will work on your own poem using anaphora to describe the different parts of your personality or identity. So is Haro's poem in first or third person point of view? Remember, it says she a bunch of times. She had some horses. She had some. So it's in third person. If you did first person, it would say I had some horses instead of she had some horses. So it's up to you if you want to use first person using I, mine, stuff like that, or if you want to use third person where you'd be talking about somebody else. So let's look at planning. In writing, it is important to think about what you want to accomplish before you begin. This exercise will help you do that. First, consider what you're going to write. A poem that uses anaphora to describe different aspects of your own personality. Think about how Haro does this. She uses the horses as representatives of different parts of the woman's identity. Horses have an important role in Native American culture, so it's likely that this helped influence Haro's choice. So, number 1, think about your own life and the feelings that are most important to you. What will you use to represent the different parts of your identity? So for me, I really love the mountains and being outdoors, so I might pick something like the mountains. You might pick something like video games or sports. You could kind of think of the poem about the basketball poem that we read the other day that kind of described the feelings of hate, but you could change that to a sport that you like and make it about your personality. You could pick all kinds of stuff. So what's something that could represent you? It could be an animal, like she used horses. So pick something that could represent your personality. And number 2, think about the ways you might use anaphora. You could start each line by saying, I am like this, or my body is this, or I consist of this. Consist of means I'm made up of. So you could also think of your own phrase to repeat at the start of most of your poem's lines. So think about it and write that phrase right here. So for 1 and 2, just write your word just underneath there, really small. So now we're going to get to organizing. Now that you have an idea of how you will include anaphora, you need to develop ideas about how to organize the different characteristics. In this exercise, you'll use the same idea as Haro did. So follow prompts below to list the parts of your personality that you want to write about in the poem. So number 3, Haro's second stanza described what the horses are made of, using things from the natural world. List at least 2 features from nature that are metaphors for what you are made of. For example, if you're stubborn, you might describe yourself as a boulder because it's not easily moved. Number 4, Haro's fourth stanza describes actions that horses take. List at least 2 actions here that describe aspects of your personality or character. Remember that, like Haro, you may use figurative language here. And number 5, Haro's 8th stanza describes how the woman feels about the horses. Write down at least 2 different feelings you have about the character traits you have listed above. So you might like them, there might be things you want to change about yourself, so just tell us there. And if you finish the section with time remaining, go back and try to add 2 more features to each of your lists. For example, for question 3, you would add 2 more features from nature. For question 4, you would go back and add 2 more actions that describe your personality or character. I give you an optional sentence starter that says I am, and then give a character trait, just like a blank. So it could be, I am brave like this, I am smart like this, I am kind like this, and then give me an object or an animal or something from the natural world. And once you're completely done with that, we'll move on. Go ahead and give yourself about 10 minutes to finish this section. And then I wanted to go over just a quick question. What is the thing that will represent you in your poem, and why did you choose that thing? So make sure it's something that really would represent you well. Then we will go to the next one, 9.3, where you'll get to actually write your own poem. So now it's time to draft your poem. Use the space that follows to write your poem. Remember to follow these steps. First, make sure to use anaphora by including your phrases from question 2 at the start of at least 3 lines. You could do it on every line if you want. Make sure to include different aspects of your personality by using some of the items you brainstormed on your lists in question 3 and 6. And then if you finish drafting with time remaining, I want you to go back and try to add 2 more details to your poem. Make sure it sounds good, practice reading it out loud, and if you have time today when you're finished, you can come get the final draft paper and rewrite it. So I made a sample just to show you. My phrase that I'm going to use is I am made of, and you can use the same one, just don't use my exact same things. So I put, I am made of tall mountain peaks, steady and strong, because I keep trying even when things are hard. I am made of running rivers, always moving forward, learning something new each day. I am made of bright morning sunlight, warming others with my kindness and hope. I am made of growing oak trees, patient and calm, taking time to think before I act. So just to show you on this, all of these rectangles here, these are each stanzas. So mine has 1, 2, 3, 4 stanzas. And these numbers are the lines. So I have line 1 and line 2 in my first stanza. And I want you to notice, on line 2, it actually goes down to the next line, but I indented to show you that that's still part of the same line. I just ran out of room. So if you run out of room, remember, just indent on that. It's kind of different than the paragraph, so I want to make sure you really see that. Then where the green line is, we had a stanza break. That means I skipped a line. And then same thing, I am made of, that's part of my anaphora. And then my 4th line also needed it wrapped around, so I had to indent there too to show that's still part of the 4th line. And then 5, 6, 7, and 8 were all easy to do, 1 line. And so if you finish this, I want you to go ahead and complete your final draft of I Hear My School Singing. You could do your ugly sweater, your cocoa, your grateful mug. and any other catch-up work you have. And if that's all done, then you could do some more work. But that's it. Good job.